Hi and welcome back to Ricoh GR101, episode 6, metering modes. Now I've decided to tackle metering modes now before we get into some serious customization, and those will be coming up in the next video, episode 7. We're going to be looking at metering modes today. Now in this standard setup, if I press my jog wheel in now, there, like that, then we have this quick menu that comes across the top here, and we can change some settings. I'm going to customize mine how I like this later. And in the middle there we have metering modes, auto exposure metering modes. Now in a minute this video is going to switch from the top down view to going on location with me taking some pictures in a building that has some interesting light sources that we can play around with. But multi-segment metering, this is the very first option. This is an average over the entire screen. It looks at the brightest pixels and looks at the darkest pixels, and it tries to match the camera's dynamic range to the range of light available in the shot. So sometimes this will blow out highlights and stuff, but it does its best. Next up, center weighted metering. Now this means weighted. The word weighted means like in a mathematical sense, so that it looks at the entire range of pixels one more time across the entire image, but then it looks at an area towards the middle of the camera and prioritizes the pixels in that area, or it will weight those more in the calculation to get the entire exposure. Spot metering. I keep making that mistake. Spot metering. This is one of my favorite modes because it allows you to get an exposure lock on some particular area in the scene, and then refocus or reframe, take the shot, and it will get whatever you point the camera at, and it will be more precise. So if you point it at something very bright, it will take a light reading from that bright area and set an exposure that matches that bright area without considering too much of the surrounding areas. Highlight weighted metering. All good cameras should have highlight weighted metering. Not many of my other cameras have had this. The Sony A7 III did, but the other cameras that I own, the Olympus and the Panasonic, they don't, but Ricoh's do, and this is a really nice feature. It will automatically look at the entire scene and find the brightest highlights, and it will try to protect those highlights by metering for those. Okay, so it will try to stop you blowing out those highlights, and it can result in a very dark scene with well exposed bright areas, but very dark areas in the other parts of the screen. So that is what we're going to be looking at. And I'm going to switch off now, and then I'm going to go for a drive and take you to a building that I have access to. It's a nice building, and there's a good mixture of light, so let's go and take a look at that now. Okay, now I'm at the location where I want you to see the various lighting modes. As you can see, there's some ambient light. It's not too dark in here. I'm shooting an f2.8. ISO is down at 200, so there's plenty of ambient light, but there's also some very harsh sunlight coming in from the skylight windows. And so we're going to go through the metering modes. Now, I haven't finished customizing my GR yet. There's more on that to come. But my focus mode is just right there in the middle, just a regular autofocus. And then I will be taking a series of images where each image will be one particular metering mode. So we've got plenty of light in here according to the ISO, and shooting at around 1/80th, 100th of a second, aperture wide open at f2.8. I could increase, I'm far enough away to, if I focus on the back of that chair, for example, then I should probably just increase the depth of field a little bit. Something like that, okay? Now I'm confident I can handhold this and get some sharp shots. So that'll be fine there. Now, I've got my metering mode on this top menu here, and I'm not quite finished customizing my camera as I want it right now, but here are my metering modes on this. I pressed the adjustment dial in, the jog wheel in like a button, and it's on my third setting there. And the first one is multi-metering. So we're just going to take a shot with that. Focus on the back of the chair there. Take a shot. Next, we're going to go down to center weighted metering. Press OK for that. There won't be much difference here because it's pretty much the same, but you can see we might be blowing out the highlights. Okay, next one, center weighted metering. Now you can see it's starting to change a little bit. If I position the camera there, so it's looking at those highlights over on the stairs over there, and focus there. The focus isn't actually important, it's where I point the camera. If I point it down here in the dark, it will blow out the highlights in spot metering mode, but I can move the camera around, and this is something I like to do a lot actually. I like to move the camera around and find an exposure that looks interesting, and then I've got auto exposure linked to this button here. Or have I? It might be auto exposure and auto focus. Now I don't want that, I just want auto exposure. Yeah, I've got exposure lock now. And then I can focus on the back of the chair. No, it's locking. Okay, I need to quickly change that. So I'm gonna go in the menu, up to C for customizations, go to the FN button setting, and you can see my FN button setting there. Go one more in, and I just want auto exposure lock. I don't want auto focus. I don't want back button focusing on this camera. I do that in a different way, and we will get to that later. So press OK to that. That's changed now. So now I can point up here, get an exposure that seems interesting, hold that down, and then now I'm free to, now it's locked that exposure. Now I can go down here, focus on the chair, take that shot, okay? And finally, we're going to go down here and get the highlight weighted metering. And you can see here that it doesn't matter now where I point the camera. It's looking at the scene. It's seen there are strong highlights over there, and it's exposing that shot so that it doesn't blow those highlights. And it turns everything very dark, because those highlights are much, much brighter than the rest of the scene. And even though it might not look that way on video, it is. So that's what we're getting. So sometimes it's better to use spot metering and just have a quick look around your shot. Is that nice over there? Get an exposure lock. You can see right to the left of my right thumb there, AEL has come up, and we've got an exposure lock, and then I can focus on something else and take a shot. Okay, that's it. The highlight weighted metering shot, if I go into playback mode now, that was there. This would be perfect for putting that raw file through Lightroom, and Lightroom or Apple Photos or Capture One or something like that, and just raise those shadows. You can also do it in camera as well with raw development. Okay, see you later.